So, what if I told you that one of the most important books ever written, a 14th century masterpiece that has influenced everyone from modern historians to tech billionaires, is actually best known in many parts of the world as a punchline? Well, today we're diving into the famously misunderstood Muqaddimah of Ibn Khaldun.
Seriously, take a second. What comes to mind? Because for millions of people, especially in the Arab world, the answer isn't some dense 600-year-old text on history and sociology. Nope, it's this. For generations, the main cultural reference for this incredible work has been a running gag in a classic, absolutely beloved Egyptian comedy play. And look, it's a hilarious line, but it also means that for so many people, their entire relationship with this profound book starts and ends as a joke. But then, you have this. The founder of Facebook himself listed this very same book as essential reading for understanding how the world works. So how do we get from a comedy punchline to a must-read for a Silicon Valley titan? Well, that's what we're here to figure out. Let's get into the real story of the Muqaddimah. Okay, first things first. To really get the book, you have to get the man. And Ibn Khaldun wasn't some scholar locked away in an ivory tower. No, he was a statesman, a top-level politician who was in the trenches, living and breathing the very power dynamics he would later write about. He was born in Tunis, got the best education you could get, Quran, law, philosophy, the works. But his real education, that came from the real world. His career put him right at the center of power, in the royal courts of North Africa, Spain, and Egypt. He wasn't just thinking about how societies work. He had a front-row seat to the constant drama of rulers and dynasties rising and falling. And all of that real-world hands-on experience became the foundation for his masterpiece. Fun fact, it actually started as just an introduction, the Muqaddimah, to a much larger history book, but it became so revolutionary that it completely overshadowed everything else. So why was it so revolutionary? What was the big deal? Well, Ibn Khaldun came up with this idea that was truly radical for his time. He said that human history isn't just a random list of battles and kings. He argued it's a science, with predictable laws and patterns that you can actually study and understand. He called his brand new science Ilm al-Umran, the science of civilization, or human social organization. This was literally centuries before the word sociology was even invented. He was building the foundation for it, arguing that the rise and fall of great empires isn't just luck or fate, it follows a clear, repeatable logic. At the core of his theory, he saw society existing in two basic states. On one side, you have Bedouin. This is rural life. It's tough, it's simple, it creates people who are incredibly self-reliant, brave, and connected by these super strong social bonds. And on the other side, you have Hadara. That's city life. It's complex, sophisticated, full of luxuries, but that comfort comes at a price. Social bonds get weaker, and people start depending on rulers and armies to protect them. You can almost think of it as the scrappy, hungry startup versus the big, comfortable, established corporation. For Ibn Khaldun, Bedouin is where civilization begins, and Hadara is its peak, which is also, ironically, the beginning of its decline. Right, so this constant push and pull between the tough, rural world and the comfortable, urban one, that's what creates the engine of history. It kicks off a cycle that he saw happening over and over and over again. Now, the fuel for this engine is a concept he called asabiya. This is the absolute key to everything. It's his secret sauce. Think of it as this intense group solidarity, this powerful social glue and shared purpose that binds people together. It's that all for one for all spirit that makes a group incredibly unified, tough, and powerful. And here's how it all connects. A group with that strong asabiya, usually coming from that tough, rural Bedouin background, develops the unity and the drive to take over an established, decadent urban state that's lost its own sense of togetherness. And just like that, a new dynasty is born. This whole process unfolds in what might be his most famous theory, the 5 stages of a dynasty's life cycle. First, you get conquest. This is when the group, full of asabiya, takes power. Then, stage 2, autocracy. The new ruler starts consolidating power, getting rid of his old allies, and trusting only a small inner circle. That leads to stage 3, luxury. The new elite gets real comfortable. They start spending tons of money on palaces and pleasures and forget all about the tough virtues that got them there. Stage 4 is contentment. The next generation is just complacent, coasting on the glory of their grandparents. And finally, you get stage 5, wastefulness.
The state is broke, the spirit is gone, and the whole thing is just waiting to be conquered by a new, hungry group with strong asabeya. And the cycle starts all over again.
But here's the thing, the Muqaddimah is so much more than just this one big theory. It is packed with these razor-sharp observations on everything from psychology and economics to education that feels so modern it's kind of spooky. I mean, just listen to this psychological insight. He wrote, "The vanquished are always fond of imitating the victor." He noticed that conquered people or less powerful cultures almost instinctively start copying the dominant one. He saw it happen back then, and we see it everywhere today with the spread of global culture. It's a totally timeless observation on the psychology of power. He was also basically a pioneer of economic sociology. He broke down how different jobs actually shape a person's character. Agriculture, he said, was for the humble. Industry required long-term learning from a master. And trade, he argued it required a kind of boldness and craftiness that he felt was, well, kind of beneath the dignity of the noble ruling class. He wasn't just describing an economy. He was analyzing its soul. And his thoughts on education? Honestly, they are just astonishingly modern. He argued you should learn one thing at a time to avoid getting confused, and that you should always go from simple ideas to more complex ones. But his most powerful point was this passionate argument against using harshness or violence in teaching. He said it doesn't create learning, it just creates fear, teaches kids how to lie, and completely crushes their spirit. I mean, that's a conclusion that modern education took centuries to really catch up with. So, after all that, we have to ask, why should a book from 14th century Tunis matter to any of us right now? Because the Muqaddimah isn't really a history book. It's more like a user's manual for society. It's a toolkit. It gives us this powerful lens to look at our own world and see the invisible forces that shape our cultures and our politics, the cycles of power, the social glue that holds us together, and the comforts that can tear us apart. So I'll leave you with this question. Look at the world around you right now. Look at nations, at giant corporations, even at social movements. Do you see his cycle at play? Can you spot the asabiya that builds them up and the luxury that threatens to bring them down? Do his laws of civilization still hold true? That's the real power of the Muqaddimah. It doesn't just help you understand the past, it challenges you right now to understand the present.